Viktor Frankl introduced a concept that he called tragic optimism, a phrase that, at first hearing, sounds like a contradiction. Optimism tends to suggest cheerfulness, forward-looking brightness, the expectation that things will work out. Tragedy suggests loss, irreversibility, the kind of damage that cannot be undone. Frankl insisted on holding both together, and his insistence was not rhetorical. He had lived the territory that the phrase describes. Frankl identified three unavoidable features of human existence that he called the tragic triad: pain, guilt, and death. These are not contingent features of unfortunate lives. They are structural features of every human life, regardless of its circumstances. Every person will experience significant pain. Every person carries some experience of having failed or wronged someone, the weight of genuine guilt. And every person will die, and must live with the awareness of that fact. These three are not escapable. The question is only how they are met. Frankl's claim was that each element of the tragic triad contains, within it, a pathway to meaning, if it is met with what he called defiant power of the human spirit rather than with collapse, denial, or bitter resignation. Pain can be transformed into human achievement through the attitude with which it is born and the depth of character that bearing it honestly develops. Guilt can be transformed by being taken seriously, acknowledged honestly, responded to constructively, and allowed to change the behavior of the future. Death can be transformed by allowing its reality to intensify the seriousness with which we live the time that remains. The transformation Frankl describes is not the elimination of the tragic element. The pain does not disappear. The loss does not reverse. The death does not become less real. What changes is the relationship the person has to it, and through that relationship, what the tragic experience contributes to the life as a whole. A person who has honestly faced serious illness, genuinely engaged with guilt about a real moral failure, or consciously integrated the awareness of mortality into their daily life has been changed by those experiences in ways that purely comfortable experience could not have produced. The change is not always desirable, and Frankl never pretended it was. But it is real, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it is the kind of deepening that gives a life its most significant dimensions. The concept of tragic optimism is partly Frankl's response to a limitation he saw in ordinary optimism. Ordinary optimism says that things will get better, that the darkness will lift, that the situation will improve. This is sometimes true and always pleasant to believe. But when it is not true, when the diagnosis is terminal, when the loss is genuinely irreversible, when the guilt is real and cannot be undone by wishful thinking, ordinary optimism fails. It collapses against the fact. And a person who has organized their psychological survival around optimism that then fails is left in a more difficult position than if they had never relied on it. Tragic optimism survives where ordinary optimism fails precisely because it does not depend on circumstances improving. It depends on the human being maintaining, within whatever circumstances obtain, an orientation toward meaning. The meaningful response to irreversible tragedy is not to deny it and not to be destroyed by it, but to integrate it, to ask what this suffering is asking of me, who I must become in relation to it, what I can give to others from the specific vantage point of having been here. Frankl also spoke about what contemporary psychology calls post-traumatic growth, the genuine positive transformation that some people experience as a result of seriously difficult experiences. He was careful not to romanticize this. Not everyone grows through trauma. The conditions for growth include, at a minimum, some degree of safety, some available meaning, and some honest engagement with the experience rather than pure avoidance. When those conditions are present, transformation is possible. When they are not, the work of healing must come first. For anyone navigating serious loss, whether recent or long-standing, Frankl's framework offers a possibility worth holding. Not the promise that the pain will end. Not the assurance that a lesson will be learned that justifies what happened. But the quieter, more durable possibility that the honest engagement with the tragedy can itself become something, a quality of presence, a depth of compassion, an earned understanding that could not have been reached any other way. Tragedy does not cease to be tragic when it becomes meaningful, but it ceases to be merely tragic. And that is not nothing. Subscribe to the Psychology of Viktor Frankl to explore more of his timeless ideas.